The grand halls of the Imperial Council chamber echoed with laughter. 12 council members, dressed in their shimmering ceremonial robes, sat around the massive crystal table, amused by the report before them. Another primitive species. Admiral Marcus wiped a tear from his eye, his deep blue skin crinkling with mirth. "And you want us to be careful of these humans." He spat the word like it was beneath him. Councillor Reed stood alone at the center of the chamber. His plain gray uniform contrasted sharply with the ornate decorations surrounding him. "My lords, our scouts report that these humans have achieved faster than light travel in just 3 centuries after discovering electricity. No other species has evolved this quickly." The chamber erupted in another wave of laughter. High Councillor Bennett raised his hand, silencing the room. "Councillor Reed, we appreciate your thoroughness, but let us be clear. This empire has stood for 10,000 years. We have conquered or assimilated over 500 species. What makes these humans special?" Reed activated a hologram showing Earth and its 3 colony worlds. "They're different, my lord. They still wage war among themselves, yet they cooperate to expand into space. They build weapons even in times of peace. Their entertainment media is filled with stories of fighting against overwhelming odds. They're preparing for something." Admiral Marcus stood up, his massive frame towering over the others. "I've heard enough of this nonsense. These humans have exactly 4 worlds. 4. We have 10,000 systems under our control. Their biggest ships are barely the size of our scout vessels." He turned to face High Councillor Bennett. "Give me permission to launch a preventive strike. 3 destroyers should be enough to put these upstarts in their place." Reed's face paled. "My lord, please, at least attempt diplomatic contact first. Why waste time?" Marcus smiled coldly. "A quick show of force, and they'll submit like all the others. The Empire needs to remind the galaxy of its power from time to time." High Councillor Bennett nodded slowly. "Permission granted, Admiral. Take your destroyers and give these humans a demonstration of Imperial might. Nothing too extreme. Just destroy one of their colony worlds. That should bring them to the negotiating table quickly enough." Reed watched in horror as Marcus bowed and left the chamber, already barking orders into his communicator. The other council members began filing out, some still chuckling about the primitive humans. 3 days later, Marcus's destroyers dropped out of hyperspace near the human colony of New Eden. The Admiral smiled as he observed the small orbital stations and the city domes on the surface. Without warning, his ships opened fire. The human defenses crumbled within minutes. Orbital platforms exploded, raining debris onto the planet below. The city domes cracked, exposing the inhabitants to the thin atmosphere. Emergency broadcasts filled the Imperial communications channels as millions of humans fought for survival. But Marcus wasn't done. His ships jumped to the next colony, and then the next. In less than 6 hours, 3 human worlds lay in ruins. The Admiral recorded a message and broadcast it toward Earth. "Submit to Imperial rule or face extinction." Then he waited, expecting an immediate surrender. 1 day passed, then another. A week went by. No response came from Earth. No pleas for mercy. No diplomatic initiatives. Nothing. After 2 weeks, Marcus reported back to the Council. "The humans have gone silent, my lords. All communications with their worlds have ceased. They're probably too shocked to respond. Give them time. They'll submit." Only Councillor Reed noticed something odd in the reports. Before going silent, Earth had broadcast a single message to its surviving colonies. It contained just 5 words. Remember, prepare, unite, survive, revenge. The Empire had made a grave mistake, but they wouldn't realize it until it was far too late. In the darkness of space, humanity began to change. Their forges grew silent only to be replaced by something far more terrifying. The Empire's casual cruelty had awakened a sleeping giant, and in their arrogance, they had missed all the warning signs. The clock was ticking, and when it stopped, the galaxy would never be the same. 5 years of silence changed everything. Deep beneath the surface of Earth's moon, Commander James Stone stood at the observation window of Facility Zero, watching automated factories stretch for miles into the distance. Robotic arms moved with precision, assembling massive hull sections for warships that would make Imperial destroyers look like toys. Status report. He called out to the control room behind him. Production is at 300% of projected capacity, sir, answered Lieutenant Ward from her console. The new nanoforges are exceeding all expectations. Fleet Group Alpha will be ready 2 months ahead of schedule. Stone nodded, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced glass. In the 5 years since the Imperial attack, humanity had transformed itself. Every factory, every research lab, every industrial facility on Earth had been moved underground or to hidden bases across the solar system. To the outside world, humanity appeared to have retreated into isolation, licking its wounds. The reality was far different. "Show me the weapons test results," Stone ordered. A hologram flickered to life, displaying footage from the asteroid belt. A small, unremarkable ship approached a test target. A chunk of metal and rock the size of an Imperial destroyer. The ship fired a single shot. The beam seemed to bend space itself, and the asteroid simply ceased to exist. "Phase shift cannon successful, sir," Ward reported. "The Imperial shields will have no effect against it. They're still using standard energy barrier technology. They'd never imagined someone would figure out how to shift matter between dimensions." Stone allowed himself a small smile. The Empire's attack had united humanity like nothing before. Every nation, every corporation, every research institution had pooled their resources and knowledge. The result was a technological leap that should have taken centuries. In another section of the facility, scientists were putting the finishing touches on the stealth systems. They had discovered a way to bend light and sensor readings around their ships, making them virtually invisible. The Empire wouldn't see them coming until it was too late. "Message from Earth Command. Sir," Ward announced. "Project Phoenix is complete. All civilian populations have been successfully relocated to the underground cities. Surface structures are now automated decoys only." Stone checked his tablet. The numbers were staggering. 10 billion people moved underground in just 5 years, safe from any orbital bombardment. The Empire thought they were being quiet out of fear. They didn't realize humanity was preparing for the biggest military operation in history. "And the shipyards at Mars?" he asked. "Operating at full capacity. The stealth frigates are ready. Strike Fleet Beta can deploy on your command." Stone walked to the main strategic display. Hundreds of dots represented their hidden facilities throughout the solar system. The Empire's scouts still patrolled the edges, but they saw only what humanity wanted them to see: abandoned colonies, minimal activity, a defeated civilization. "Sir," Ward's voice was quieter now. "Personal message from your daughter on Earth. She's finished her pilot training. Top of her class. She's been assigned to the first wave." Stone closed his eyes for a moment. His daughter had been 12 when the Empire attacked. She'd lost her mother on New Eden. Now she would be among the first to strike back. "The Empire thinks they broke us," Stone said to the control room. "They think 5 years of silence means submission. They don't understand humanity. They don't understand that we were never fighting wars against each other. We were practicing, preparing. Every conflict, every battle in our history was preparation for this moment." He turned to face his crew. "Send the coded signal to all fleet groups. Operation Phoenix begins in 72 hours. Humanity has been quiet long enough." Throughout the solar system, hidden shipyards hummed with activity. Stealth ships slipped into formation. Weapon systems powered up. Crews took their positions. The might of the entire human race, transformed by loss, and forged in silence, prepared to reveal itself. In his quarters that night, Stone looked at an old photo of New Eden before its destruction. "We're coming," he whispered. "And this time, we're not the ones who will burn." The countdown to humanity's revenge had begun. The Imperial patrol ship Glory of Dawn never saw what hit it. One moment it was conducting its routine sweep of the border sectors. The next, it simply vanished, split apart by weapons that defied Imperial physics. Captain Thomas stood on the bridge of the stealth destroyer Nemesis, watching the patrol ship's debris scatter into space. His vessel remained invisible, a ghost in the void. Around him, his crew worked in complete silence, their movements precise and practiced. "First blood," he whispered. "Begin Phase 1. Across 15 crucial Imperial systems, human stealth ships emerged from their hiding spots. They had been waiting for months, gathering intelligence, identifying targets. The Empire's arrogance made it easy. They never thought to look for ships that could bend light itself. In the Imperial shipyards above Centauri Prime, Admiral Robert Black watched through his tactical visor as 30 human vessels appeared from nowhere. His small strike force had a simple mission: destroy the Empire's ability to build warships. "All ships, weapons free," Black ordered. "Remember New Eden." The phase shift cannons fired. Imperial shields might as well have been paper. The massive construction docks simply ceased to exist, their matter scattered across dimensions. 5 years of weapons development had created something the Empire had never imagined possible. On the Imperial core world of Nexus II, Commander Wilson's strike team hit their military command centers. The Empire's most advanced detection systems couldn't track the human ships. Their best weapons couldn't touch them. It wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. "Sir," Wilson's tactical officer reported, "Imperial reinforcements arriving. 3 destroyer groups." Wilson didn't even blink. "Show them what humanity has learned about warfare." The human ships moved like dancers, their maneuvers impossibly precise. Imperial targeting computers couldn't keep up. The destroyers fired blindly into space, their shots passing harmlessly through areas where human ships appeared to be. Then the phase shift cannons fired again. The Imperial destroyers didn't explode. They simply came apart, their atomic bonds severed by weapons that operated beyond normal spacetime. In the Rigel system, home to the Empire's largest fuel refineries, Captain Mary Parker led her squadron through their defensive grid. 5 years ago, she had been a high school teacher. Now she commanded weapons that could tear reality apart. "All targets marked," her XO reported. "Permission to fire." Parker thought of her students who had died on New Eden. "Permission granted. Burn it all." The refineries erupted in silent flame. The Empire had just lost 40% of its fuel production capability in less than 5 minutes. On Earth, Commander Stone watched the tactical display as reports flooded in. Every strike team was reporting success. The Empire's military infrastructure was being dismantled with surgical precision. "Sir," Lieutenant Ward called out, "Imperial communications are in chaos. They still can't detect our ships properly. They're firing blindly into space." Stone nodded. "Send the signal to begin Phase 2. Let's show them what else humanity has learned in 5 years." Across Imperial space, military bases went dark. Communication hubs fell silent. Shipyards burned. The Empire had spent 10,000 years building its military might, and humanity was taking it apart in hours. In his command bunker, Admiral Marcus of the Empire received increasingly desperate reports. His mighty fleet was being destroyed by an enemy they couldn't see or fight. His strategic reserves were gone. His backup plans were in ruins. "My lord," a junior officer rushed in, "we're detecting new signals. Massive hyperspace disturbances at the edge of our defense perimeter." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean, massive?" "Sir, it's the main human fleet. These attacks, they were just the advance force." The admiral slumped in his chair as the reality hit him. They had thought humanity would break when they destroyed their colonies. Instead, they had created something unprecedented. An entire civilization transformed into a weapon of war. And now that weapon was aimed at the heart of the Empire. The real battle was about to begin. The Imperial Palace shook with another explosion. High Counselor Bennett stumbled as he ran through the golden corridors, his ceremonial robes forgotten for simple combat gear. Behind him, Counselor Reed kept pace, clutching a data pad that displayed the growing catastrophe. 15 systems, Bennett shouted in disbelief. They hit 15 systems at once. How is this possible? Before Reed could answer, every screen, hologram, and communication device in the palace flickered to life. The same thing was happening across every Imperial world, on every ship, in every colony. A simple message appeared, written in plain Imperial text. You brought this upon yourselves. No terms, no surrender, no mercy. The message played on repeat, impossible to shut off or override. In the background, a slow countdown appeared, ticking away with mechanical precision. In the Imperial fleet's primary command center, Admiral Marcus watched in horror as reports flooded in. The humans had somehow developed weapons that ignored their strongest shields. Their stealth technology made them invisible until the moment they attacked, and they seemed to know the location of every critical military installation. Get me a channel to Earth, Marcus screamed at his communications officer. I'll negotiate. Sir, the officer's voice shook. We're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of all our core systems. Something big is coming through hyperspace. In the streets of the Imperial capital, panic spread like wildfire. The supposedly inferior humans had just crushed their best defenses like they were nothing. Millions of citizens rushed to evacuation centers, though no one knew where would be safe. The Imperial Council gathered in their emergency bunker, watching tactical displays light up with new warnings. Councillor Reed stood before them again, but this time no one was laughing. 5 years, Reed said quietly. We gave them 5 years to prepare, and we never once wondered why they were so quiet. They weren't cowering in fear. They were building this. He gestured at the screens showing the destruction of their military bases. What are their demands? Someone asked. Weren't you listening? Reed replied. No terms, no surrender, no mercy. They're not here to negotiate. They're here to end us. In orbit around the capital planet, the crew of Imperial Defense Station 1 watched in terror as their most powerful weapons disappeared into the void, absorbed by invisible human ships. Their sensors couldn't lock onto anything, but they knew they were surrounded. The station commander opened a general frequency. Please, we have civilians aboard. A cold voice responded, like the civilians on New Eden, on Aurora Colony, on New Terra. Did you show them mercy, Commander? The human ships decloaked. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Sleek, dark vessels that seemed to drink in the light. Their weapons looked almost organic, pulsing with strange energies that Imperial science couldn't explain. The countdown on every screen reached 0. Across Imperial space, massive hyperspace windows began to open. The main human fleet had arrived. The earlier attacks had just been the prelude. In the emergency bunker, the Imperial Council watched their worst nightmare unfold. The human ships just kept coming. Hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands, each one larger and more powerful than anything the Empire had ever built. How? High Counselor Bennett whispered. How did they build so many? Reed looked at his former colleagues with pity. We forgot the most important lesson in history. Never push someone so far that they have nothing left to lose. We killed millions of their people. We thought they would break. Instead, we gave them a reason to unite, to transform, to become something far more terrible than we could imagine. The human fleet moved into position with mechanical precision. On every Imperial world, citizens looked up to see their skies filled with dark ships that promised judgment. Then, a new message appeared on every screen. The Empire taught us that mercy is weakness. Now we will teach the Empire what real strength looks like. Your time has ended. Humanity's time has begun. The real war was about to start. The Imperial capital's sky turned black with ships. Not the familiar silver blue of Imperial vessels, but something darker, more menacing. The human fleet stretched beyond sight, each ship a masterpiece of war. Admiral Lisa West stood on the bridge of the Earth's Vengeance, humanity's first super dreadnought. At 15 kilometers long, it made Imperial capital ships look like toys. The massive window showed thousands of human warships moving into attack formation. All fleet groups report ready, Admiral, her executive officer announced. The Empire's home fleet is attempting to form a defensive line. West allowed herself a small, cold smile. Show me. The tactical display lit up, showing nearly 10,000 Imperial warships forming a protective wall around their capital. 5 years ago, such a fleet would have seemed invincible. Now it looked painfully obsolete. "Open a channel to all Imperial forces," West ordered. "Let them see what their arrogance has created." The human ships activated their external lights simultaneously. In the darkness of space, they blazed like angry stars. The Empire's sensors finally got their first clear look at what humanity had built. Each human vessel bristled with weapons that didn't exist 5 years ago. Their hulls were covered in strange, shifting patterns that seemed to swallow light itself. The smallest human frigate carried more firepower than an Imperial cruiser. "Imperial vessels," West's voice echoed across every Imperial channel. "You can't win this fight. Your shields can't stop our weapons. Your sensors can't track our ships. Your tactics are 5 years out of date." On the Imperial flagship, Admiral Marcus watched in horror as his sensors tried to analyze the human fleet. The energy readings were off the charts. A single human dreadnought had enough power to level a continent. "My lord," his sensor officer called out, voice shaking, "we're detecting something else. The human ships, they're deploying something." From the sides of each human vessel, smaller craft emerged. Thousands of them. Fighters unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. They moved in perfect formation, their pilots' minds linked directly to their ships through neural interfaces, another innovation born from 5 years of preparation. "All units," West commanded, "begin the demonstration." 100 human fighters broke formation. They accelerated toward the Imperial line at impossible speeds. The Empire's best point defense systems fired, and hit nothing. The fighters phased in and out of normal space, Imperial weapons passing harmlessly through their ghost images. Then the fighters reached the Imperial line. Their phase-shift weapons fired once. 10 Imperial destroyers simply vanished. Panic spread through the Imperial fleet. Their most powerful shields meant nothing. Their strongest armor was useless. The humans had changed the rules of space combat itself. "Second wave, advance," West ordered calmly. This time, 1,000 fighters moved forward. Behind them, the main human fleet began powering up their primary weapons. The space around their ships seemed to twist and bend as reality itself prepared to tear. In his command center, High Counselor Bennett watched the tactical display with growing despair. The humans weren't just fighting a war. They were rewriting the laws of physics to do it. "How?" he whispered. "How did they advance so far in just 5 years?" The answer came from his tactical officer. "Sir, we're detecting signs that these ships were built using automated systems. Their entire civilization. They converted everything they had into a war machine. While we watched their surface and saw nothing, they were building all of this underground and in hidden bases." West's voice came over the channels again. "Your empire taught us an important lesson 5 years ago. You showed us what happens to the weak. Now we're going to show you what humanity does when it stops holding back." The human fleet's primary weapons reached full power. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. "All units," West commanded, "begin the main assault. Show them what 5 years of human ingenuity can do." The battle for the Imperial capital was about to begin. And with it, the end of the Empire itself. Admiral Marcus stood in his command center, watching his mighty fleet crumble before the human onslaught. Ships he had commanded for decades vanished in flashes of impossible physics. The humans weren't just winning. They were rewriting the rules of warfare itself. "My lord," his tactical officer shouted, "they're cutting through our third defense line like it isn't there." Marcus slammed his fist on the console. "Deploy the civilian ships. Position them between our forces and theirs. Even these humans won't risk killing innocents." The order went out. Thousands of civilian vessels, passenger liners, cargo ships, private yachts, were forced into a defensive wall. Millions of Imperial citizens became unwilling shields for their military. On the bridge of Earth's vengeance, Admiral West received the reports of this new development. Her face hardened. "So, they hide behind their own people," she said quietly. "Show them how much humanity has learned about precision." The human fleet's movement changed. The massive ships began an intricate dance, weaving through space with impossible grace. Their phase-shift weapons fired in perfectly timed sequences, creating corridors of safety between the blasts. All ships activate the gravity tractor beams, West ordered. New technology, developed in secret, reached out to the civilian vessels. One by one, they were gently pulled away from the combat zone, their passengers unharmed. The Empire's human shield strategy fell apart in minutes. Marcus watched in disbelief. Impossible. The power needed to move that many ships safely. Sir, his sensor officer interrupted. The human fleet. They're sending us a message. The words appeared on every screen. We remember the innocence of New Eden. We will not become like you. Then the real attack began. Human ships phased through the gaps in the Imperial formation, appearing inside their defensive lines. Phase-shift cannons fired with surgical precision, destroying military targets while leaving civilian structures untouched. In orbit above the capital, the Empire's last defensive line prepared for their final stand. 10,000 years of military tradition faced extinction at the hands of a species they had dismissed as primitive just 5 years ago. Launch everything. Marcus ordered. Every ship, every weapon, every fighter we have. The Imperial counterattack began. Millions of weapons fired at once, turning space into a storm of energy and destruction. For a moment, it looked magnificent, the full might of the Empire unleashed in one desperate assault. The human fleet didn't even try to dodge. The Imperial weapons struck their targets and passed through them harmlessly. The humans had mastered phase-shift technology so completely that they could make their entire fleet untouchable. Target their command centers only, West ordered her fleet. Show them the difference between revenge and justice. The human weapons fired. Military installations vanished. Command centers collapsed. Defense platforms ceased to exist, but not a single civilian target was hit. Marcus watched his tactical display turn red as more and more Imperial assets disappeared. His mighty fleet, reduced to running and hiding from an enemy they had thought too weak to fight. My lord, his executive officer said quietly, the humans, they're broadcasting to our civilians. On every planet, in every city, the human message played. Your military started this war. Your military will end it. No civilian will be harmed if they stay clear of military targets. The effect was immediate. Imperial citizens began abandoning military installations en masse. The Empire's own people, choosing to trust human mercy over Imperial protection. In his command center, Marcus received the final reports. The human fleet had achieved total tactical superiority. Their weapons were unstoppable, their defenses impenetrable, their tactics flawless. Sir, his last loyal officer reported, we're detecting new ships arriving. Bigger than anything we've seen yet. Marcus looked at the tactical display one last time. The humans hadn't just beaten them. They had outthought them, outfought them, and most importantly, outbuilt them. The Empire's last stand was over. Now came the moment of judgment. The Imperial Palace's grand throne room fell silent as Admiral West walked through its massive doors. Her simple black uniform contrasted sharply with the ornate decorations around her. Behind her, a group of human officers followed, their faces showing neither triumph nor anger. High Counselor Bennett and the surviving Imperial leadership knelt in the center of the room. Their once magnificent robes were wrinkled and stained. The mighty Empire, which had ruled for 10,000 years, now awaited humanity's judgment. We expect execution, Bennett said quietly. It's what we would do in your position. West stopped before them. That's exactly why we won't do it. We are not you. We never will be. The palace's massive screens lit up, showing scenes from across Imperial space. Human ships were distributing aid to damaged worlds. Medical teams helped injured civilians. Engineering crews repaired critical infrastructure. Your empire taught us the wrong lesson 5 years ago, West continued. You thought you taught us about power. Instead, you taught us about unity, about innovation, about the strength that comes from working together. Counselor Reed stepped forward from the Imperial group. What are your terms? West nodded to one of her officers, who activated a holographic display. The Empire will be reformed, not destroyed. Every species will have equal representation in a new Galactic Council. No single race will hold absolute power again. The terms appeared in detail. Complete military disarmament of the Empire. Free elections on all worlds. Sharing of human technology for peaceful purposes. Joint scientific missions. Open borders for trade and cultural exchange. A united defense fleet with members from all species. But why? Bennett asked. You could destroy us all. You have the power. Power isn't just about destruction, West replied. True power is knowing when not to use it. Your empire ruled through fear. We choose to lead through cooperation. In orbit above the capital, the human fleet began to change formation. The massive warships, built for vengeance, now moved into defensive positions around Imperial worlds. Their weapons powered down. Their fighter screens transformed into patrol patterns. Commander Stone's voice came through the palace's communication system. All fleet groups report ready to begin Phase 1 of the transition. Relief ships are moving into position. West turned to address the entire room. 5 years ago, you almost destroyed humanity. You expected us to break. Instead, we evolved. We transformed our entire civilization, not just for war, but for survival. Now we'll help transform yours. The screen showed more images, human engineers teaching Imperial scientists about phase shift technology, medical teams sharing advanced healing techniques, agricultural experts helping to rebuild devastated colonies. The Empire as you knew it is over, West declared. But your people don't have to suffer for their leaders' mistakes. Together, we can build something better. In cities across the Empire, citizens watched in amazement as human ships landed with supplies and aid. The species they had been taught to despise as primitive was showing them a new way forward. From the ruins of New Eden, now being rebuilt by joint human-Imperial construction teams, to the farthest reaches of Imperial space, a new order was taking shape. One last thing, West said, facing the Imperial leaders. The humans you murdered 5 years ago. We build a memorial for them today. Not as a reminder of vengeance, but as a lesson about the cost of arrogance and the price of war. Their sacrifice led us not to destruction, but to transformation. She gestured, and the palace doors opened again. Outside, citizens of both humanity and the Empire were already working together, clearing rubble, setting up aid stations, beginning the work of reconstruction. This is humanity's real victory, West said. Not that we defeated you, but that we chose to help you rise again, better than before. The sun set on the Imperial capital, marking the end of one era and the beginning of another. Humanity had come seeking vengeance, but chose to deliver something far more powerful: hope. In the skies above, human ships kept their watch, no longer as conquerors, but as guardians of a new age in galactic history.